that very well, Council. You may carry on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Jame, just a couple of questions, general questions. You mentioned close associates of the President having led him to believe that Social Security had funds which he could use. When you say close associates, who do you mean?
I think I have named Ahmad Samba, the recipient of the check. He was one time chairman of the board of directors of Social Security.
You were Secretary General and Permanent Secretary for a while. Mm-hmm. Who do you consider to be close associates of the President apart from Mr. Ahmad Samba?
Those people that were also introduced to the President by maybe Ahmad Samba himself. I mean, I can name Mr. Bassi, who is a very close associate of the President, because he doesn't need an appointment to see the President.
Are you saying Mr. Bassi was introduced by Mr. Samba?
That's what I presume, actually.
That's what you presume?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Sorry,
yes.
You have to raise your voice.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
You mean Mr. Muhammad Bassi? Is there anyone else during your time you would consider close associate during your tenure in the office of the President?
Yeah, there was one other gentleman who was given the responsibility to manage the Gambia International Airlines.
Gambia International?
I can't recall the name now, but yes, he was also somebody who can just walk into the office and see the President. Was one time
he was given the responsibility of managing
Gambia International Airlines.
A Gambian?
International Airlines.
Yes. Was that person a Gambian?
No, it's not a Gambian.
During which period was this? When you were Secretary General or Permanent Secretary?
No, I think when I was Secretary General.
During the time you were Secretary General, were you involved in any acquisition of assets by the President?
By the President? Yes. No, never.
Were you aware of any acquisition of assets during this period?
Like landed properties or?
Landed properties, substantial.
Well, just like any other Gambian, I became aware of his acquisition of other assets, which is not, I think that's public knowledge, you know, but the office of the Secretary General, myself, I was not involved in that. Like, for example, the acquisition of the abattoir, I know eventually became Kanilai Family Farm, the bakery and all the rest of it, but those aspects were not involved in that. At least I was not involved.
Those are the only questions I have for the witness today. We will, of course, recall you on other issues. The commissioners may have questions for you.
And I think also Mr. Bassi was given one time a contract to manage NAWEC, but I'm sure during the course of your investigations you'll come over those kind of arrangements.
Sorry, repeat that. At one time, Mr. Bassi was given.
At some point, when I was appointed Minister of Energy, I discovered that there was an existing agreement which gave all powers, personnel, finances to Mr. Bassi to manage NAWEC. But maybe when the Commission comes to the details of investigating NAWEC, you might get to that kind of agreement.
Thank you for that info. Definitely, we will come to NAWEC and we'll invite you back on NAWEC. But the contract was in place when you took over?
It was in place, but when I took over as minister, I virtually ignored the contract because, I mean, to the dislike of Mr. Basi. I mean, because when I took over as Minister of Energy, the first thing I did was to ignore that agreement. It's a contract. Forget about the agreement. Just go and do your work as a normal board will do. Of course, Mr. Basi eventually challenged me. I mean, he didn't come directly to say, what I did was wrong, because what I did was law. But then he said, I mean, NAWEC is in a critical situation, and that if you have this board, that will delay matters. I said, me, I'm answerable to the National Assembly. I cannot do away with this board. So I know you have a power station in Brikama. The board has no responsibility over that. But for the board, I cannot do away with the board. It will be illegal. I mean, I thought I have settled the matter with him, although he never raised the issue of the agreement. Then, second time he came back on this issue of the board. He said he went to see the president at Kanilai, and the president told him that he should come back and see the minister, whatever the two of us agreed. Let us work on that basis. So I told him, as far as my stance are concerned relating to the board, I cannot compromise on that. Because what I'll be doing, when there's an issue in NAWEC, the National Assembly will call me, they will not call you. So I cannot compromise what is legal for what is illegal.
All right, thank you very much. We'll call you back on NAWEC.
Okay.
Yes, a special investigation on NAWEC matters. As soon as we are ready, we'll call
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Or as part of the investigations, we'll call you.
Quick question. From your knowledge and experience, can you describe to us a typical day in the life of a president as witnessed by the SG, from morning till the close of business? The reason I ask is because most of the activities were central to finance. Where does defense, security, the briefings, what was it like on a given day?
Part of what he does is to address some of the files that are sent to him. And that is quite significant. It's quite significant an activity. Because, I mean, at some point, when he takes over any ministry, that responsibility of that ministry falls on the office of the president. And by extension, of course, the Secretary General will have to deal with the administration of those ministries. So at some point, he was minister of many ministries. So, I mean, files will also go to him. That's one thing. And number two, I mean, he also has time to meet with ministers. Some ministers will like to come and discuss with him about certain issues in their sectors. Most of the time, he will invite the Secretary General to sit in, to listen to the ministers and their concerns. But in some other occasions, I mean, you are not invited as a Secretary General. Then he has also meetings with people in the private sector. The ambassadors, some ambassadors will, especially some of the ambassadors that are very close to the Gambia, they are most of the time also coming to have dialogue, meetings with him. And apart from that, of course, he has other functions that he carries out. I mean, sometimes not inside the office, but outside, And there are occasions outside he will go and perform those, and other events within the office of the president there. Outside the office, there are certain events that occur there. So he also participates in those kinds of activities. Yeah, that's basically what his typical day will look like, actually. His meetings, with various kinds of people, of course, meetings with his own staff, my Secretary General, and also meeting with his cabinet colleagues. And on the days that we have cabinet meetings, all cabinet members are there. We should normally spend the whole day, sometimes quite late in the day. We meet to discuss various issues of governance at the cabinet level.
I get the picture. But constitutionally, he's the commander-in-chief and Minister of Defense.
Yes.
So security and defense should be the priority. But from what we see, finance, including withdrawal directives related to running the economy, became very central to his activities. What necessitated that change? Was there a distrust in the institution that could run those activities? Why did it become number one priority as opposed to what constitutionally he should have focused on?
As regards to security, I mean, I could say it's basically a responsibility that he has largely delegated to the Vice President, Office of the Vice President. The Office of the Vice President normally chairs the Security Council, or the Security Committee, comprising of various service chiefs. Occasionally, of course, yes, he personally would meet with the heads of the security services. What I witness most is meetings with the Chief of Defense Staff. He comes in periodically to brief him on security matters. What also happens in those meetings also, if there are general issues to be discussed with the Chief of Defense Staff, I will be there. But when it comes to certain security details, I'll be asked to excuse them. So the Secretary General normally is asked to leave and they continue their meeting. But certainly security also occupies his attention, but as I said, the Vice President largely represents him in meetings relating to the security issues. And but I noticed also he is in personal communications with the various security heads, because certain issues will happen, we try to find out what from the security chief in concerned, and he will tell you, well, I got the call from the big man himself, the president himself. And sometimes that's where you have sometimes gaps in communications, because in my own particular case, which took me to court and I was jailed, it's lack of communications. He gave the NIA or the police to arrest this particular permanent secretary without even telling me, so I was not aware. I was just informed by my secretary to cabinet that, the guy who has been reinstated and brought to my own office of the president, has been arrested by the police. So I called the IG, and the IG said, no, we checked with the NIA. I checked with the NIA DG, he said, well, these are instructions from the big man himself, but unbeknown to me. And then he said, he has asked us to investigate this matter. So I said, okay, when the investigation is ready, normally when they do their investigation, they send a report, which is channeled also through the Office of the Secretary General. So this is why I left this particular case, and now I was accused of really allowing this man to continue on his salary, when I was not actually informed that he should be in the picture. We are normally not informed, and that can create a gap in information.
What about the large amount of cash in and out?
Well, like any other Gambian also, I'm beginning to hear some of these things coming out from this August Commission. Millions are being removed, taking cash from the central bank and the like, Although I have to be honest, I have sworn to the the Quran here, you know, it is not only Social Security, even Central Bank. Cash loans are being requested there. But I'm glad to say here that, you know, at one point, you know, almost nearly 1 million was requested. It's about 40-something million. It's in dollars actually. But the governor had the guts to come back to us and said he cannot do it. And I respect that governor, and that's Governor Koli. He was able to, at that particular moment, I can bear witness to that. I mean, a cash request was sent to him, and he said he cannot do it. So, I mean, that's a risk, but he took the risk. That's what I can say.
Sorry, which governor was that?
Amadou Kole.
Oh, the governor who subsequently then agreed to give so much cash.
Yeah, but sometimes, you know, yeah, but I mean, that particular amount was maybe beyond him. And I could remember
How much was it?
It's about $45 million.
Dollars.
Yeah.
Now,
It actually indicated the currency of the account. What the currency the account should be opened in, that's in euros. And that now the signatories should be he himself and the Minister of Finance. That's also abnormal, but what can you do? I mean, if a minister is responsible for state finances, was not able to properly advise him to say that, you know, that should not happen. But as I say, you know, there are limitations on the part
but were you aware at the time that he was withdrawing cash from this account?
No, I was not
whilst you
aware.
were Secretary General?
No. Never aware.
When you opened accounts as Secretary General, what monitoring mechanism was in place to follow up on the transactions on the account? Was there any?
No, I mean, the turnaround in terms of office holders there, I mean, is known to all Gambians actually. I mean, you don't stay there long.
You didn't have any mechanisms for monitoring? Did you receive any statements from the central bank?
No. My responsibility just ended when I wrote that letter, and I didn't
Did you receive statements from central bank on any of the accounts that were opened by your office at the time?
No.
They don't send statements?
No. Maybe they send, but not to my office, or not to my knowledge also.
That's all for the witness.
Are you done?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's all for the witness.
Thank you. Mr. Jame, you may go. You may.
Thank you.
I call Mrs. Adagi.
I swear by the Almighty Allah
I swear by the Almighty Allah
that the evidence I shall give to this commission
that the evidence I shall give to this commission
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing
and nothing
but the truth.
but the truth.
So help me Allah.
So help me Allah.
You can wait for
Thank you.
instruction.
Could you kindly state your names to the commission?
My name is Adagi.
Where do you live?
I live in Bakau.
It's Mrs. Gay. Please sit down. What work do you do at the moment?
I'm not working.
You were in the public service.
I was in the public service.
You are Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, during what period?
It's in and out of it, you know. I worked for 1 year and then moved to another ministry and then back again. That was how it was.
Okay, can you tell us the periods when you were at the Ministry of Agriculture?
I was there in 2012, again up to 2013.
Give us the
2014
periods. What
as well.
periods in 2012?
Can't fully remember the months, yeah.
Can you speak up, please? Your volume is low. Yeah. You can't remember the periods when you were there?
Yeah, but the years I can remember: 2012, 2013, and 2014.
You were there during this stretch?
No, not the stretch, in and out.
Okay.
I would move to one ministry and then back again.
All right. We would require you to let us know because the periods are important with
Okay.
regard to
Yes, ma'am.
things that happen. You've been summoned in relation to the John Deere tractors. I will show you exhibits SC23, which is a letter from the Ministry of Agriculture to the Secretary General, signed by Adagay, Permanent Secretary.
Sorry, Councillor, what's the number of that exhibit?
Exhibit SC23. SC23. Is that you?
Yeah.
That's you, Adagay. Now, the letter says that it is actually forwarding a pro forma invoice emanating from John Deere Company, seeking clearance for a second letter of credit, LC, for the second tranche of John Deere farming equipment to the Gambia. Could you tell this commission what you know about this John Deere farming equipment, tractors and other equipment?
Okay. I think it was part of the agricultural mechanization program, which was being promoted by the former president. And there was a John Deere delegation to the Gambia, and I think the Ministry of Agriculture and GGC were tasked to work with the John Deere team on the acquisition and shipment of tractors.
What is this agricultural mechanization program?
Basically, I think to mechanize agriculture by using tractors, mechanized agriculture.
Was there actually a program with an office, with staff, and so on?
No, because it's just an initiative of the former president. All was like his own initiative. He wants to mechanize agriculture and get some mechanized, get these tractors, I think. So that was it. And the John Deere delegation were here.
How did they come to be here?
I don't know, because that was at the level of the president himself.
Sorry?
It was at the level of the office of the president, the former president. I don't know how they got here. But then the delegation was done under the coordination of his office. How they got here, I don't know.
So you're saying you had a meeting with the delegation?
No, we didn't have a meeting with the delegation. We are tasked to work with them. Right after I think when they left, we were told that we should work with the John Deere delegation, the John Deere team, in the acquisition of some tractors which are supposed to come. Basically, shipment, because all the emails we got from them were, the shipping of various tractors and allied accessories. So the first thing they sent during the exchange of correspondence was the pro forma invoice. So right after getting the pro forma invoice, there was no way I could pay from the ministry because there was no budget for it.
Sorry, say that again.
There was no budget for payment of tractors under the Ministry of Agriculture. So that was why I took the pro forma invoice and sent it back to the Office of the President for them to find an LC and pay.
And that was it?
So I sent it to them.
You sent it back to the Office of the President, you said. So what happened after that?
They had to process it and see where to pay it from.
Sorry?
They processed and see, they were the ones who had to pay for it. And I think they sent it to some institutions to pay.
So what happened? This is supposed to be an agriculture mechanization program. So what happened after that?
It was the initiative of the former president. So I sent it back for them to pay for the tractors because there was no budget line for it.
And you said you think they sent it to some institution. What do you know
That is
afterwards?
Social Security. They sent it to Social Security.
And Social Security paid?
I should think so.
So what was your involvement after that? Were you involved as a ministry?
No, because we didn't receive we didn't take delivery of the tractors afterwards.
So, but you know the tractors came?
The tractors came. It was cleared by the Office of the President, the then President.
Was agriculture in any way involved in the distribution of the tractors, in the mechanization project, implementation of the mechanization project? Do you know what happened to the tractors?
To tractors? No, they were delivered to the Office of the former President.
Were you called, was your ministry called to come and look at the tractors and talk? Well,
maybe they did call people. Maybe I wasn't there then. Maybe I
when did you leave at that time?
I will check the dates, but I wasn't part of the delivery and handing over.
You don't know anything about the implementation?
No, everything went back to the Office of the President, former President, sorry.
Mrs. Gay, apart from these John Deere tractors, 500 tractors had earlier arrived from India called Mahindra. Again, it was referred to as mechanization. Do you know, does your ministry have a record of this mechanization program of the President in relation to the first lot of tractors that came?
No, not to my knowledge, ma'am. Not the mechanization is basically his own initiative. So
it had nothing to do with agriculture as an institution. Okay.
Maybe because I was just in and out. I'll be posted there for a while and then taken to another ministry and then back again.
Who was the minister at this time that the John Deere tractors came?
Honorable Solomon Owens.
Honorable Solomon Owens. So you don't really know anything about what happened
No,
to the
everything
tractors?
went back to the former president. It's his own initiative.
So you don't have at the level of the Ministry of Agriculture any mechanization program?
Maybe from time to time he will make use of the staff.
Maybe?
He make use of the staff.
He made use of?
The staff, the agricultural staff. Maybe in the regions, maybe, to help assist in the rice fields and all that. But then for the tractors, I think he took ownership of all the tractors.
You said he used the agricultural staff in the
Staff
regions?
to help in the farm.
To help?
In his various farms, maybe.
His various staff.
Yeah, but the mechanization program is his own initiative. He spearheaded everything, and he took ownership of the tractors.
Well, thank you. You'll be invited back in relation to the farms, of course, and that's something we are looking at, but not for today. Thank you. That's all the only questions I have for
Just
Mrs.
one.
Gay.
We remember the former president appointed himself Minister of Agriculture. Do you remember which periods or which particular time? Was it once? Was it twice? That will help us, please.
The time he was like the
Minister of Agriculture.
the Minister of Agriculture.
Yes.
No, I won't be able to remember that. There
That's
should
fine.
be, maybe the Office of the President should have a record of that.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have any further questions for Mrs. Gay today. I call Fatunjai, the she can be released.
Very well, madam. You may go.
Thank you.
And
No, see that one go.
Mr. Quran, you can read after me. I swear by the Almighty Allah
I swear by the Almighty Allah
that the evidence I shall give to this commission
that the evidence I shall give to this commission
shall be the truth,
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing
and nothing
but the truth.
but the truth.
So help me Allah.
So help me Allah. Thank you.
Could you kindly state your names?
My name is Fatunjai.
Where do you live?
I live at Caniping South.
You are a public servant?
Yes, ma'am, I'm a public servant.
What office do you hold?
For the moment, I'm the Deputy Head of Mission at the Gambia Embassy in Abuja.
Would you like to sit down, please?
Yes, please.
How long have you been in Abuja?
2 years now, since July 2015.
You were in the office of the president.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell us the period when you were in the office of the president?
Can I start by when I was appointed in the civil service?
If
Yeah,
you wish, yes. you
Yes,
can.
ma'am. I started in February 1997 at the Personnel Management Office, and then in
Which office, sorry?
Personnel Management Office, the
PMO,
PMO.
yes.
And in October 1999, I was redesignated and transferred as protocol officer to the office of the president to serve the First Lady. And I rose through the ranks from promoted to 2001 as senior protocol officer, still attached to the First Lady. July 2006, promoted to the post of assistant director of protocol. October 2014, promoted to the post of chief of protocol office of the First Lady. Chief of Protocol Office of the First Lady. And in June 2015, I was redesignated and redeployed to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where I was subsequently posted to the mission to our mission in Abuja as Deputy Head of Mission.
So, excuse me. So from October 1999
Yes, ma'am.
to June 2015, you were in the office of the President.
Yes, ma'am.
16 years.
Yes, roughly.
All right.
15.
What were your duties as protocol officer?
As a protocol officer, apart from serving the First Lady, organizing her appointments, setting up courtesy calls, working on logistics when she has to visit certain facilities, hospitals, schools, travel arrangements, work on state banquets, receptions, visits of heads of state. I used to work closely with the Chief of Protocols to work on all those things.
The Chief of Protocol to the President.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you traveled with her as well?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
All right. We'll start with transactions from the state aircraft account.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you show the witness exhibit CB32? Was it part of your duties to deal with cash?
I don't know whether it was part of my duties, but sometimes we were assigned to, for example, buy air tickets, and we are given cash to pay for it. And for this one...
No, sorry, before we come to that, why don't you know whether it was part of your duties? Did you have terms of reference?
Well, when I was posted there, I didn't have terms of reference as such.
Did you have a job description after you were posted?
No, ma'am.
Did you have training as a protocol officer?
No, I didn't have training, but maybe because I was bilingual and they needed somebody who did French, that was why I was moved from the admin cadre to the protocol cadre.
And nobody told you what your duties were?
No, I just learned on the job.
Right, fair enough. So, for instance, when the First Lady was traveling,
Yes, ma'am.
who would be responsible for any monies that she would require during the travel?
Nobody. She had money on her own. How, I don't know, but nothing. I didn't deal with anything cash for her when we traveled. Because almost 99% of her trips were private. All I worked on would be air tickets, work on the travel arrangements, hotel arrangements, and the delegation list. Anything that has to do with cash, I'm not aware.
Were you given an imprest?
No, ma'am.
You didn't have an imprest?
Since it was private
You only had your per
I
diem.
decided not to. And per diem, not always. At a certain point in time, they decided since it's private and they're paying for hotels and everything, they don't pay us per diem. The records are there to show.
Who is they?
Well, the delegation that we used to travel with, I mean, those are witnesses to occasions when we travel without per diem.
When you said they would give you per diem, who do you mean?
I mean, for the few times that we are paid per diem, government will pay Treasury, especially when it's official trips with the president. But most of the private trips, I wouldn't call it per diem. The ex-president would take out a sum of money and say, hold on to that for your feeding, because we are paying the hotels and everything. So
hold on to that for your feeding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, let's go back to this transaction. Now, we have CB32. Yes, these are as authorities written, the first one.
Yes, ma'am.
Dated 16th November 2011.
Yes, ma'am.
It's an authority written by the President. The address says Basse. And it says, kindly deduct from the state aircraft account $20,500,000 and 500,000 euro. Thank you. Then we have attached to it from the central bank an acknowledgement dated November 17, 2011,
Yes,
which bears the signature Fatunjai, Protocol Officer.
yes.
Is that you?
That's me, ma'am.
And the acknowledgement says, I have been directed by His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia to receive a total of 20,500,000 and also a total of 500,000 euro from the Central Bank of the Gambia.
Yes, ma'am.
I hereby acknowledge receipt.
Yes, ma'am.
We also have another instruction dated November
Yes, ma'am.
2011, which says, kindly deduct from the aircraft account the amount of 1 million euros. Now, attached to that is an acknowledgement dated November 17th,
Yes, ma'am.
which is an earlier date,
Yes, ma'am.
which is signed by Fatunjai. Is that yourself?
That's my signature, ma'am.
And it says, I have been directed by His Excellency the President of the Republic of the Gambia to receive a total of 40,500,000
Yes,
dollars from the Central Bank of the Gambia.
Correct.
Now, it seems from the two authorities, they were all dated November 17, 2011,
Yes, ma'am.
that you received three sums on that day.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, 20,500,000, 500,000 euro, and 40,500,000 dollars,
Yes, ma'am.
making 61 million. Yes, tell us about this transaction.
Well, all I can say about this transaction is I was called over the phone by the ex-First Lady or by the President. I can't recall, it's been so many years. That the following morning I should go to, I cannot remember which day it was, but he told me the following morning, go to the Governor Central Bank, he has some money to give you. At that point in time, I don't know the amount. So the very next day I woke up, went to the office, went to the Central Bank and asked for the governor. And as soon as I got there, he asked me to wait. For me, maybe they had given the instructions prior to me getting there. So I will wait. I cannot tell the time frame, maybe 20, 30 minutes. And then I'll be asked to go down from the governor's office. You go down the stairs, go through an office. I think that's where the vault is. I don't know. But they bring bags out, because I was with an escort. Bring bags out, put it in the car, and then take it back to State House.
They bring bags out.
Yes. I think.
When did you sign? You did sign documents indicating you had acknowledged receipt.
Yes. When they bring the bags out, they open it and confirm the money. I think either they write the sum and put that paper inside the bag and tie the bag again. I cannot remember, but I think it's just one bag. And the other denominations, they'll put in big envelopes, like for the foreign currency. Put in big envelopes, give it to me, hand it over to me, and I'll take it to State House.
At what point did you sign these acknowledgements?
After having received the money.
You signed it there at the Central Bank?
Yes, ma'am.
What sort of bags are these? $40,500,000 is a lot of cash. And 500,000. That's, as I said, $61 million.
They are fabric bags, so very large bags. I think that's central bag bags. I don't know, but they are big bags.
Was the president at Basse at the time?
I cannot recall, ma. I can't recall.
Okay. So, what did you said you can't recall whether it was the First Lady or the President who instructed you to go and collect this money?
It's either one of them, or the President must have spoken to the First Lady, and then she gave me the instructions. But it was from either her or him. I can't remember, and I don't want to lie.
Okay. Did you have direct dealings with the President?
Yes.
Even
Sometimes
as
I did.
protocol officer?
Yes.
Where did you take this money when you went to the center, when you went to the office of the President?
I think it's either inside the house.
There's a lot of money, Ms.
Yes,
Njai.
yes.
I would never forget if I was given
No,
60 million
ma'am,
to carry.
it's been over 7 years, and I think I did it once. So I don't want to lie. I'm under oath.
So what do you remember?
We drove inside the compound, if I could remember, and left it with the Oddleys.
The Oddleys?
Yes, ma'am.
Who were these Oddleys?
You have Yusufa, At the time, I think it was Yusufa, and the most popular one I can recall is Yusufa. Yusufa Bojang. I can't recall.
Yusufa Bojang.
No, Yusufa Sani. I think. I can't recall their names.
Are you sure that you gave it to the odd list?
Yes, ma'am. With that large amount of money, I will not give it to anybody else other than somebody who's in the household or to him directly. It's been sold like 6-7 years ago. I can't recall. But I do remember receiving money from Central Bank and taking it to State House. That I recall.
Did you tell the investigators that you handed this money directly to the president?
Yes, I did. How do you call it? The foreign exchange was given to him in his office, but the other one was taken to, after recollection, I could recall the other one was taken inside the house. The ones in bags.
Which house?
The first couple's house. The ex-first couple's house, State House.
This is his residence?
Yes.
Do you know what happened to this money?
No, ma'am, I don't know.
Was it? Were you involved in other cash transactions?
Cash transactions like...
On behalf of the First Lady, sending money, for instance?
Yes.
You send money on her behalf?
On her behalf, but I wouldn't recall when the amount, but I know I used to send
money. Where
to,
did you send the money?
Usually it was with Trust Bank.
Where did you send it?
Sometimes to Morocco and sometimes to the US.
Do you know a lady called Al-Idrisi Lala Mariam?
Yes, she's her personal assistant.
Or who was she?
Personal assistant to the ex-First Lady.
Okay, what nationality was she?
Moroccan.
When was she personal assistant? During which period?
I think from 2013 up to the time I left. Okay. I cannot tell you exactly which day, but I'm sure
until the time you left?
In 2015, yes.
She was her personal assistant?
Yes, ma'am.
Is she alive?
She is.
She lives?
She is. Up to the time they were leaving, she was alive.
All right. Do you recollect how frequently you sent money on behalf of the First Lady?
No. Yeah, but I know of. Okay. Every other month or so.
You would send money?
I don't want to lie, but I know I used to send for her.
Certainly, you can't stop repeating that. We expect you to tell the truth. When you are under oath, you are expected to tell the truth. Yes. All right, I'll just show you a transaction.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not in evidence yet,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman. This is a transaction from the Jame Foundation for Peace account.
Okay.
And I'll show you to you. It's not yet in evidence.
Okay,
and I'll show you an email, which is in French from Al-Idrisi Lala Mariam.
Okay.
And it starts with Bonjour Fatou.
Okay.
Can you confirm to us whether that would be you?
Yes, ma'am.
You can look at the other documents if you wish.
Sorry?
You can look at the other documents once you confirm.
Yes, ma'am.
If the documents might help you in determining whether it was you.
That's me, ma'am, because I was the only one she was dealing with.
All right. Now that transaction you can see is for the transfer of the sum of 400 and I don't have a copy here. Could you tell us the sum?
It's 469,961.96.
€1,000.
US dollars.
US dollars?
Yes, ma'am.
Which you sent to Lala Mariam?
Which I sent to this account that she emailed me.
Why was the First Lady sending this money to Lala Mariam?
I wouldn't know, ma'am.
We wouldn't know.
No. All I get is a phone call from her or like this, emails from her. You'll be receiving such information. When you get it, let me know. And then they'll give me the money and I'll go and send. But I don't know what it was for, ma'am.
All right. Let me have the document back. Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have this document admitted? Mr. Chairman, I'm applying to have this document admitted in relation to Exhibit BB 72.
Trust Bank Telex transfer dated 25th January 2013 to Al Idrissa Lala Mariam in the sum of 499,961 United States dollars and 96 cents through Societe Generale Bank in Casablanca, Morocco, plus related documents admitted marked MS-66.
I think I'll ask her to step away. Miss Yai?
Hold on.
What's that?
I want to clarify the figure given in dollars should read 469,961 US dollars, 0.96 cents. The record is rectified.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Yai, you were required to prepare a list of travels that
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
you made during your tenure
Yes, ma'am.
as protocol officer. I'll show you the list that you have made, which you have signed. Could you confirm whether this is it? And we'll apply to have it. Could you just staple it, please? Staple it. Could you kindly confirm that that's the list
Yes, ma'am. This is the list.
you submitted to the investigator?
Yes, ma'am.
And this is from 2000 to 2015?
June 2015. Yes, ma'am. It's correct.
Mr. Chairman, may I apply to have the list admitted?
list of trips by Fatu Njai, witness number 71, with former First Lady Zainab Jammeh, commencing June 2000 and ending June 2015. Admitted, mark MS 67.
Yes, ma'am.
Most of these trips, international trips,
Yes, ma'am.
excuse me, were private trips.
Yes, they were.
Who was responsible for arranging the travel?
I was.
You were.
Yes, ma'am.
These were, for instance, maybe you should go through them. We would require you to actually provide the files, I'm sure, at the Office of the President should be of assistance to you, to provide the documents or financial documents relating to each of these trips.
When you say financial, ma'am, you mean?
When you say you arranged, I will excuse that question. I think it's, normally you can't ask me questions. I do the questioning.
Sorry, ma'am. Okay.
But I think it's a fair question. When you say you arranged the trips, what did you do exactly?
Exactly.
I should think it wasn't free. Trips have to be paid for.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
For instance, if it's on commercial flights, I'll have to do the bookings, make reservations. If it's with the state aircraft, I will have to deal with GIA or civil aviation. And if it's on special chartered flights, the First Lady will give me a number or an email address that I should contact, and they'll get back to me. For example, with chartered flights, when she's asking for quotations,
You would do the asking. You would ask for quotations.
I would ask on her behalf and submit it to them.
Okay. Who arranged payment?
The ex-president.
Not the Secretary General, not the Office of the President.
No, ma'am. With all that I've done with them, it comes from the ex-president.
The ex-president arranged payment.
Yes, ma'am.
How would payment be made, for instance, when you chartered a flight?
It will be by bank transfer.
Bank transfer?
Yes, ma'am.
And if you were buying tickets, who would handle it?
I would.
Through GIA or through which?
What I would do is I would call 2 or 3 different travel agencies, and they would ask me to compare prices. When I do that, I submit it to them, and they will choose which travel agency to deal with. They will give me the cash, and I would pay.
All right. We would require that you identify what mode was used in all these trips. There are quite a number of them.
Yes.
Particularly in the last few years.
Yes.
What mode was used in each of these trips, whether it was commercial flight or whether it was the state aircraft or whether it was chartered flight.
Okay. I will do my utmost because I don't have all of it.
How often did you travel on commercial aircraft? For instance, in 2015, did you travel on commercial aircraft?
I can't recall. I think the last trip we did was with Air France. Usually trips to Paris would be on Air France via Dakar.
You go to Dakar and catch Air France?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Trips to U.S.?
Trips to U.S., sometimes it will be South African Airlines.
Which airlines?
South African to Washington, D.C. And sometimes chartered or state aircraft. I don't have the figure of everything with me.
So you've chartered air flights to go to U.S.?
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Yeah. Where would you land when you charter air flights to U.S.?
Dollars.
You'd land in Dallas?
Yes, ma'am.
In D.C.?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, those are details we would require you to provide. But just to ask you some questions regarding your destiny.
If I may step in, I have written to the Office of the President, to the Secretary General, to have access to the closed files, so that at least I don't have everything off head. I usually didn't keep paperwork with me. So I've written to them to give me access to the file so that at least I can take out information of whatever I need.
We will facilitate that.
Thank you.
You went to Morocco a lot.
Yes, we did.
Where did you go to in Morocco?
We went to Rabat and in Marrakesh, but mostly in Rabat.
Okay, what is in Rabat?
Rabat is the farm, her mom used to stay there,
Where did you stay in Rabat?
in a hotel.
You stayed in a hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the First Lady?
In the hotel too.
She didn't go home to her mom?
She will spend the whole day at home, let's say from 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. at night, and then we will go pick her up, bring her back to the hotel.
What about Marrakesh?
Marrakesh was the 2 occasions I went with her were for vacation, and we stayed at hotels too.
Of course, we wish to make it clear that we are not interested in the ex-president's, former First Lady's private life. This commission is only interested in the way the finances of this country were spent.
I do understand, ma'am.
All right. Now, there is no, okay, let me move on. When you went to Paris, which you did a lot, for instance, in 2014, you went 3 times to Paris and you called them private visits.
Yes, ma'am.
In 2015, you went twice. What was in Paris? In 2013, yes, you went to Paris, but once. 2012, twice. So every year you went to Paris according to this breakdown.
Doctor's visit.
Doctor's visit.
Doctor's visit, yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you said doctor's visit also for Washington.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So doctors visit Paris, doctors visit Washington.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all you did? You go to Paris and you just visit doctors and come home?
Yes, ma'am. If you look at the dates I indicate in the Paris trips, they usually don't last more than 4 or 5 days. Yes, ma'am.
Where did you go in? Where did you stay in Paris?
In hotels too, ma'am.
In your statement to the investigators, you mentioned shopping a lot.
Yes, she did shopping, but I deal with her when she's going to the doctor's office. When we retire back to the hotel, she goes with her personal assistant. I don't follow them.
Okay, she had personal assistants.
Yes, that's...
Could you name them?
She had 2. One from the time I started to 2012, who is late now, that's Hadija El Hadri.
Khadija?
Hadija El Hadri.
Khadija?
Elhadri.
Okay. Hadri, Hadri.
Yes, ma'am. And the second one was Lala Miriam. When the other one passed away, I think a few months later she came.
Okay. They were both what Moroccan?
They were both Moroccans, ma'am.
When you went to Washington, where did you stay?
I stayed with them in their residence.
Where was this residence?
It's in Potomac, ma'am.
What's the address?
9908 Bentcross Drive.
Bentcross. Bentcross. Bentcross Drive.
Yes, ma'am.
Who else traveled with you on the Gambian side?
On the Gambian side, it's her security.
How many security did she have normally with her?
Normally 6, I think.
She traveled with 6 security?
6 security, yes, ma'am.
And who else?
Myself, the security, the personal assistant. Should I call her cook, Miss Aisatu Jame? We used to put nanny or lady in waiting.
So you used to put what?
Her designation.
Yes.
We put nanny, lady in waiting, because she does everything in the house. And she would travel with a hairdresser and an esthetician. They are all Moroccans.
A hairdresser?
Yes, ma'am.
And
an esthetician.
Did you say esthetician?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the last word, please?
Esthetician.
Can you spell it?
ESTHECIAN.
Okay, aesthetic.
Lady or man, male or female, what did they do?
The hairdresser was male, and the esthetician was female.
What was her job?
Pedicure, manicure.
Pedicure, manicure?
Yes, ma'am.
You were the only protocol officer on the trips when you traveled?
Yes, unless I go on leave, on maternal leave or leave, we would have either Mr. Sanajaji or Mr. Sise step in. Mr. Alhaji Usman Sise.
Now, you haven't mentioned anything relating to assets. I ask you a direct question. Did the First Lady have any assets, whether in Guinea, which you visited as well,
Yes,
Morocco,
Not that
United States,
Not that I know
or
of.
France?
Not that I know of.
You were with her 16 years. That's a long time.
Yes, ma'am, indeed, that's a long time. But the long time I worked with her, it was strictly professional, formal. Whatever she lets me know, I know. What I'm not told about, I don't know. And she deals with me usually when it's strictly official. Her other personal business, I have nothing to do with. She will deal with her Moroccans or her family
Where
members.
did you go when you went to Guinea?
We went to visit the dad. That was when the dad was alive.
You stopped going there when the dad died?
Yes, after the 40 days that the dad passed away,
When was this that he passed away?
I can't recall.
Which year?
The early 2000s, ma'am. I can't recall. I can't. Maybe 2002, 2003. I have to go back to the records to check.
All right. That's fine. We'll expect, of course, those records about the expenditure during these travels. Did the children travel with you?
Yes, ma'am, they did.
The children are going to school in the U.S.? Were they going to school before you left?
Yes, the elder one started school here and ended in the U.S. The young one was homeschooling.
Was?
Homeschooling.
Homeschooling?
Homeschooling, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Until you left, he was homeschooling?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, of course, those are children, so we will expect that you make a statement regarding the children, the expenditure regarding the children in writing, if you know.
If I don't know
Yes,
any.
but not in public media. All right. Mr. Chairman, this is all the questions I have for Ms. Njai for now until she submits financials.
Council, let me have the telex transfer, the one that we just admitted. Secretariat,
So the secretary.
MS 66. Could you give this to the witness to read the whole, up to
Want me to read it out?
yeah, just up to travaux.
Ok. Bonsoir Fatou. Son Excellence m'a donné les consignes de vous envoyer les nouveaux coordonnées bancaires concernant les travaux.
So that is a bill payment. Travaux implies
Travaux means works.
yes, works,
Yes.
projects.
Yes.
What projects were you paying for?
I don't know, sir.
You don't know.
I don't.
You've never visited any project works.
Not, no, never.
But that email clearly tells you that they were paying for works.
It shows me they are paying for something, but I don't know what it was for.
Thank you.
That's all for today, Mr. Chairman. It's after 1.
Time is up anyway, so we'll rise until Monday the 16th, is it? Monday the 16th at 10 o'clock.